He didn't slam you, he didn't bump you, he didn't nudge you, he rubbed you. And rubbing's son is racing.
And welcome everybody to Locked On iRacing. We are in the year 2021 in Season 3, and we're halfway through Season 3 in week number 6. I'm Peter Wilkinson, and I'm joined by Braden Martin, number 3 driver for Ozicar Formula Skip Barber. How you going, mate?
Yeah, good. Could get used to those intros. Keep them coming. Normally it's you don't want to talk to me, so.
For 6 weeks, mate, you are the number 3 best person in Ozicar's Formula Skip Barber. So congratulations. We'll talk about that soon. Let's get into what the podcast is about. We're doing the news and results podcast right now. So you're here to listen to all the news and results from the Australasian region, or really Australia, New Zealand. If you've got any information on news and results you want to get to us, hit us up either on the Facebook Locked On Lads or the Discord, lockedonlads.com/Discord. Get in there, hit us up. If you want to pre-record some stuff with us, that's the best kind of content we do, because that we don't have to do the huge amount for it, but get your stuff out there. We're happy to do that with you. Just let us know. If you haven't already, subscribe to the RSS feed or the podcast through the podcast app of your choice, or on the YouTube channel where the podcasts are going up as well at the moment. Leave us a review or comment on the YouTube channel or whatever you can, because all that kind of stuff helps us out a huge deal. Now, this week, not only are we brought to you by CD Cinematography, who is one of the best dirt oval photographers who's branching out into road stuff at the moment in Clayton Davies out there. So go check him out, CD Cinematography on Facebook. We're also brought to you by Brewster Coffee, so BREWSTR.coffee. Go check out the website. You can find the best local coffee in your region, no matter where you are in the world, and you can add your favorite coffee to the website, give them a review so other people can check them out. So definitely go check them out. They're sponsoring us for a full year. You'll see them on the cars. You'll hear us talk about them, and we'll probably have other content around them as well. So thank you very much for joining the sponsorship crew. However, we're here to talk about racing, iRacing in particular. Braden, mate, what has been happening? It's been a week for you, mate. Let's go through. By the way, sneak peek, I've got an official race I did. So
jeez. Do we start there? That's a rare occurrence.
No, I need to take a breath. I just talked for way too long. So you go.
All right. So yeah, pretty much same old. Just a bit of skippy racing this week. I can't remember if I talked about. I did do an oval race last week on stream, just a rookie oval, because I was tired of doing the skippy, but that went okay. But obviously, the staple is the skippy, so we're at Tsukuba this week, which has been pretty fruitful, I suppose. I've done 4 races. The first one I qualified second and was having a okay battle with the guy in first. I felt like I was a bit quicker than him, and he just checked up a little bit into the final hairpin, and I couldn't slow down quick enough. Got a little bit of netcode. I know this is a running joke from you, Pete, but it actually was netcode. And he spun, but he spun right in front of me. So it was one of those ones where the car turns and basically you just got nowhere to go, T-boned him. And then we were about 2.5 seconds already clear of the people behind us, and apparently none of them managed to realize there was 2 cars spun around in the hairpin and came clattering through and, took me out, so I had to tow. So I managed to get back for 11th, but it was really disappointing because obviously, I'm on that road to 3K grind, trying to get the 3K I rating, and that was a bit of a dent. But after that, things went swimmingly. So I did 2 more races. The first one, I had the perfect race, Peter. The perfect race.
I heard this. I'm excited to hear this.
Qualified pole, which was nice. Always nice, especially at Tsukuba, to be on the front row because it's so hard to pass. Qualified pole, led all 24 laps, got the fastest lap and had a 0x. So that was great.
Perfect race. There are these people, it does exist.
It does. And then did SNL. So missed out on top split Sunday Night Lights race by 2 cars. So I was car number 2 in the second split, along with Nathan, who was in as well. And yeah, had another good race. It was looking like I was going to do the perfect race again, back-to-back perfect races. So qualified pole, got off to a great start, was leading by about 7 seconds when I ran into some lap traffic, which did not go well. For anyone who's seen the Twitch clip I put up in the Discord, I have no idea how I survived. Basically, I asked for a guy to let me go. I was probably a little bit far back to ask to go through at turn 1, but I thought, maybe he'll let me through.
Do you not
Didn't
know
let me
who
through
I am, mate? I'm number 3 in Ozicar. Let me pass.
Didn't let me through, obviously. And then as we're going through the sort of SE chicaney things to go into turn 4, he pulled over to the side, and I thought, oh, okay, he's going to lift off and let me through. And then all of a sudden, he was back on the racing line. But not only did he come back on the racing line, he just slammed his brakes on in the middle of the corner. So I've had to rip the car to the left in the hope that I miss him. I've cleaned him up in the back, which made me get 4x, which was a bit annoying because, like I said, I was on track for another perfect race. And you could hear the panic in my voice. I thought I was dead, and I thought, I've gone from easily winning this race, it's not even close, to God knows what. But thankfully, the car basically had next to no damage. I think my initial thing was the car's screwed. I just hadn't even driven a meter yet, and I'm like, the car's screwed. The steering was a little bit loose and not quite as tight as it was, but we managed to continue on and end up winning the race, and ended up actually still pulling away from the guy in second spot a little bit further. So that was scary. And then I did one more race at Tsukuba yesterday because I thought, I was like, should I stream it? Should I? No, I won't stream it. But then I was thinking halfway through the race, oh no, I might actually get to 3K here, which is been my whole thing on the stream. I'm going to do it off stream.
Yeah.
So I was basically in the gearbox of Sun Kit Wong, who's and that's not me making fun of someone's name. That's genuinely his name on iRacing, is Sun Kit Wong. And yeah, he qualified pole I qualified second. I literally followed him for 24 laps to the point where my car was in his gearbox for so long that on caps, my engine temperature actually went into the orange. I've never seen that before. So obviously I was just literally following him so closely for so long that it actually started to heat up the engine. And yeah, just there was nowhere to pass. I couldn't do anything. He was defending into turn 1. I couldn't get a quick enough run around that. It was just impossible. I tried every single line possible to make a clean move and just couldn't get through. So I ended up with a second. But the funny thing was, my I ratings ended up on 2,999. so one short of 3K. So hopefully the next race goes well. How many
streams are you going to do now before you get there?
Yeah, well, who knows? I could end up back at 1K. Anything's possible. But yeah, then obviously we had Ozicar, but we'll talk about that in a second. I want to hear about your official.
Yeah, so last Thursday, I'm sitting there. We got the last round of the season for Ozicar, and I've been sitting there doing a bit of Koto, but not a huge amount of it. And every time I set it up, the track's at 49 degrees. And I'm just like, this is nuts. I don't want to do this. It probably won't be this in the race. I understand the track. I know what I've got to do. I'll just get on in practice before the race and we'll worry about then. So that was about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, hold on, it's Tsukuba this week. Or hold on, David Haynes, Sakaba. So I'm sitting there going, I love this track. It is one of my favorites. I had a really good result there when we went there in Ozicar. And it's obviously going up through the MX-5s. You race there all the time. So I went, let's jump in there and let's see how we go. Did a bit of qualify. I did a bit of practice and was pretty good on pace and jumped into qualify. Got 11th. Found out I was in top split, but it's a top split of, 1,918. So it wasn't a very good one. Car number 11, I think I rolled through with, something like that. So qualifying was pretty much right on brand on where I was supposed to be, and got out to a good start, hung wide on the first corner, and then somehow got wide on the second corner as well. So I don't know how I managed that, but coming into the second hairpin on the outside, an old mate behind me's collected me. But instead of doing that panic thing that I normally do of, shit, and oversteer and brake and go on the wall, I just sort of went with it. So when I went back and looked at it, his front wing had clipped my rear tyre. So basically he just pushed me through, and I'd already braking early anyway because everyone else in front of me was checking up, as you do on the second hairpin at Tsukuba. So it just pushed me wide. So I went around the outside, let about 2-3 cars through, pushed me back to about 15th, 16th. And I went, here we go. Car feels fine, no problems at all. Couple cars go off around the next right-hander. Dodge them fine, come around the main straight. There's 2 cars facing the wrong direction there. Turns out he was one of them. He'd lost it in the rear coming
Standard.
onto the main straight and went into the wall. So then all of a sudden I'm back up to like 11th or something. And then there's a group about 3 or 4 in front of me, about 2 or 3 seconds ahead. So I'm out of the draft, but I'm chipping away at them, just 1/10, 2/10 every now and then, especially once my tyres got in. And chased them down in the 24 laps with about 5 laps to go. 2 of them went off to the right around that right-hander after the second hairpin. Dodged them, so all of a sudden I'm in 9th, and then I'm catching up the last one in that crew. Get on the back of him with about 4 to go. But as you know, there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to overtake. So instead of overtaking him or pushing him, getting his mirrors, moving around a lot, just making sure I was out-braking him into things, so it made him think about it. And he came around that same right-hander and tail flipped out. So he went over to the right-hand side, and I just went straight past him. And from there, he caught it again, but he was already 2 seconds behind, and I was going faster than him anyway. And I was a good 4 seconds down to the next person, but finished a good second ahead of someone else. Overtook him in the end and was catching me, but ended up 8th. Started 11th, got to 8th. Only the 4X was on that first turn, and yeah, it was pretty good result. Got a massive 27 I rating and a 0.04 in SR, but yeah, it was good to be back out there and actually racing officials again.
If you can string a couple of good races together at Tsukuba, it's actually really good for SR because it's 24 laps. Well, it was for the Skippy, obviously, and 12 corners in those 24 in those short little laps. So 24 laps, 12 corners, plenty of SR to gain. And it's really hard, really, to get off tracks. It's more if you have contact with anyone. It's not so much off tracks.
Yeah, well, that's it. So I love that place. So where are we at this week anyway? I haven't looked
Red
yet.
Bull Ring.
In the officials.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so we're both
Yep.
Ozicar. Okay, cool. I better buy it then and start practicing.
So yeah,
that's how my life's been since then. Yeah, so it was Ozicar, which I guess we'll go into. We'll go through my nightmare because there's not much to talk about. Lining up for race 1, qualified, not too bad, 18th, 16th, whatever it was, I can't remember. And race labs had been a bitch for me all day, and tried to fix it, and then trying to fix it, iRacing decided to die. Did the whole thing of you had to actually physically kill it in the task manager, but this is as we're going to grid up, so I've got 2 minutes to fix it and get it back up. Unfortunately, it was at 75% when lights went green, so I had to start probably half a lap down in the pits. From there, just basically circled, got my 0X, caught up to, I can't remember who it was, and I don't want to name someone, but I'm pretty sure it was Greg Holmes. I overtook him probably about 100 meters after the line because he'd obviously done some damage. He tangled with someone and lost it and was creeping home, and I almost got him, but it was good slowly catching people. You could see the relative from 30. I got it down to about 12 with a lap to go. I overtook obviously the people who spun out, which was a few people, including the person ahead of me in the road to 2K, which was Brady Baldwin. So that nullified my problem, but at that stage with 2 races to go, I needed to not only nullify, I needed to actually gain points on him, which I didn't really do. So
it was a real shame with the internet or iRacing problems. I will give a shout out though. I went back and watched Donald's stream, and although we were the Locked On guys were obviously in chat saying we'll hold off on the grid, even though we're pretty sure it goes to the 2 minutes anyway because of the broadcast. Yeah. Alex McKellar and some of the Top Split and Milo boys were sort of saying the same thing, like, don't grid up, make sure we can try and get him back in. So shout out to you guys for
definitely
doing that.
Someone else said it as well. There was a few people actually mentioned it to me, so thank you to everyone in Auzicar. You guys are all legends. I was battling so hard. You go watch the stream. My face is devastated because that's when I thought I'd lost the road to 2K sort of podium finish. But we got through race 1. 0X around Coda, I was impressed with that, and my times were good. Like I wasn't slouching and just making sure of it. I was actually racing, trying to catch up in case anyone made a mistake. Like every point was going to count at that stage. Went into race 2. qualified okay, sort of mid-pack again, but it was obviously because half the field couldn't get a lap in. Started okay, got through the S's with a bit of chaos. Everyone trying to the fast people coming through and just trying to find battle position. Then I came out of the SSS, the continual S, and come up onto the main straight. And sorry, the road to the back straight, and I usually swing it out wide. But Ben Snell's decided to come around me, and Ben Snell's there, and I'm like, "Fuck! I've got to not hit him." And so I've just pulled the steering wheel in a little bit. Tails got loose, and I've physically sworn at Ben Snell in a loud voice.
I was going to say, I heard the rumor was you owe poor Ben Snell an apology. That's what I heard.
I definitely do. Sorry, Ben. I swore at you on stream, and it wasn't your fault. It was just you were there in the wrong spot when I wanted to be there. So, but yeah, the credit to the whole thing was I spun there. I've never spun there before in any of the practice. I didn't know what to do, but tail went out facing towards the inside wall, and somehow with brake and throttle management and steering management, the nose would have been about 2 mil from the wall at any one point in time and didn't hit it at any stage. So I reversed out, went off, and I could still see the main pack in front of me. So by the time we got down to the end straight, I was back onto the main pack. So I'd only lost 10 seconds, basically. Got an end of line if you're in an oval race. And circled around, dodged a few people. People went into the pits, jumping up the places that way. Got stuck behind the missed apex guys of Connors. Greg Holmes again. Battling with them, and then at like 3 laps of battling, I've just gone, nah, I can't do this. I get in front, and then one of them would get behind me in front of me in the draft, and I was making mistakes and not doing it very well. So I've just pulled in the pits 4 laps into a 12-lap race.
Yeah,
which is you pit first lap or you pit last chance you get. That's the only 2 options you skip Barber. So I'm like, oh, this is a big risk, but anyway, let's do it. And then came out behind a few cars, battled with them, got over a few of them, watched a few people spin out. But it was easier because I could make clean passes on these guys and was watching sort of those guys and Ira, because they were the cars that were around me when I went in. Ira came out ahead of me. But those 2 guys that either spun or didn't quite have a very good time and end up behind me. But then we're watching Snell crash out. We're watching Russell crash out. We're watching Donald and Chastity both crash out. And everyone's just going by the wayside. And all of a sudden, I find myself in 11th, and Ira's in front of me, and I'm catching Ira. And then I make a clean pass on him, abusing the limits as much as I can because I've got the spin. So there was one choice where I was probably about 4 car lengths off the track, but just kept the car going because I missed the apex completely. Didn't lose any time, but yeah, did exactly what you're about to talk about in a sec. I'm cruising. I'm like 2 seconds ahead of the group behind, 3 seconds of the group behind. I'm fine. I can't catch it. Tim Cornt's like 23 seconds ahead of me, so there's no chance I'm catching him. Get to the final, just don't make any mistakes. Get to the final corner and just pull too hard on the steering wheel because I'm going too slow, and I just pulls across the corner of the last apex, which gives you a 1.2 second slowdown, and the finish line is right there.
Yeah, you don't have long to clear it.
You don't have any time. So I'm like, I'm crawling. Yeah, I'm fine. Hold on. And then literally 2 car lengths from the finish line. I'm like, I've still got 3.3 of a second here to clear. Slam on the brakes, lock it up just before the finish line, then clear it, and then go again, and then finish about a second ahead of Ira, who would have been seeing me just going, come on, let's go. But yeah, so finished, got my 10th, got my road to 3K, 2K, 3rd place, and unfortunately Brady Baldwin had a stellar race in that race and sort of couldn't get past him, but yeah, it was good. But Braden, let's talk about your near misses or victories.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I'm known for complaining about every track, but just about, or saying I can't do it, or saying I suck. But I genuinely really had trouble in practice this week. I don't know what it was about the track. It just took me a long time to be able to string a lap together. I know it's a long track.
I honestly think temperature played a big part in it. Like,
yeah,
every time we practice, I know it was plus 40 degrees, and I know some of the guys who were doing quick laps got down to about 36 by the end of the session.
Yeah,
like it was a very slippery track.
Yeah,
very different in heat.
Yeah, that could be part of it, and I feel like I was probably overdriving a little bit as well in practice, trying to get faster and faster.
Yep.
yeah, come race night, jumped in the practice session, did a few laps, and didn't feel too bad, but still definitely wasn't feeling confident. Race 1, I think I qualified 6, pretty standard qualifying for me. I think I qualified 6 quite a few times this season, but I was really happy with that because I really wasn't expecting to be that high up. And I guess the story of both my races got a really good start. It's pretty hard to get a good start in the stiffies because everyone sort of just goes off at the same time, but I guess it's basically reaction time. And both times got a really good start. So first turn, managed to pop up the inside of, can't remember who it was. Might have been, can't remember who qualified in front of me, but I know I got mites on the inside into the second turn, as Mitesy sometimes does, which is probably a little bit conservative in the first little bit of the race, and it sort of let me get through. So I was up to 4th quite early, which was really good. Really good. I sort of was basically hanging around that pack. I figured out very quickly that I had a very different line or different style of driving the first section of S's than most of the other guys. I like to take a bit of speed off earlier in the turn, in the first apex, and then carry more speed through the last part, whereas the other guys are carrying a lot more speed through the first part and then having to slow it up a little bit in the second part, which was making it really interesting because people were getting very close to me on my tail in that first part, not expecting me to slow up as much as I was. I actually sent Ben a message after because I said, "Oh, sorry, like I hope you didn't think I was doing it to try and like hold you guys up or anything. It was just that was the way I was taking that turn." And he's like, "No, there's a million different lines for that. That's all good." So yeah, was working through the race, was holding my own, and it was surprising. Like I actually felt like I was doing a pretty good job. I was sticking with Chastity, had a chance to get up to 3rd for a bit. So Chastity was running 1st and I was running 3rd. So it was actually a locked on bread sandwich this time for some of the top split boys instead of, poor Chastity having green cars all around him, which was really cool. So he was running in 3rd. I had Donald behind me, and that was good. I feel like I know Donald's driving. He doesn't take too many risks most of the time. And then Ben got behind me. So I had Ben behind me, and I think I said, you can hear in your guys' stream, like, "Oh no, I don't have polite Donald behind me." And I was like, that made me a little bit nervous. So he was behind me for the last couple of laps, and he was faster than me, but he couldn't really get past me. There wasn't really anywhere to pass except for down the end of the hairpin, and he wasn't that good onto the straight. There was the one corner he seemed to not be able to get right, and with the little bit of tow I was getting from the guys in front, he couldn't really get a perfect run to get me down the straight. So I'm assuming he would have wanted to get me down the straight on that last lap, but couldn't. And through that infield section, I was pretty strong. It was probably actually where I was quite quick. But I choked. I completely choked the last 2 corners. So just went a bit deep and didn't get the turn in quite right into the second last corner, which gave Ben the run up the inside. And I basically broke a little bit early to try and carry a whole heap of speed around the outside into the last turn. And he just put me on the line by 6 thousandths. So I missed out on a podium, which was obviously my goal for the season. We could talk about those in a second.
Yep.
But then race 2, did a really good qualifying lap again, which was really nice. I think I qualified 3rd for race 2, which was nice. Was it? No, maybe it wasn't 3rd. I'll have to check
anyway.
Oh no, it was 3rd. Yeah, so qualified 3rd. Donald qualified 2nd, and again got a really good jump and jumped him into turn 1. So was sitting in 2nd spot at the end of turn 1 behind Alex McKellar. And we sort of got away to a good start, drove off. The guys behind were sort of, not too close to us, couldn't get us down the straight or anything like that. And then the pit entry came. So I followed Alex into the pits. We were pretty far ahead of each other, ahead of the other guys a second or so. So we had plenty of space. I actually got a really good run into the pits to the point where I had to slow down because I almost overtook him into the pits. Ended up going up the inside and getting a good sort of time. And then behind, all we see is Chastity going flipping over the side. So that wasn't great for him. Had a good pit stop. It was only like 9.5 seconds for tyres, which meant I stayed with Alex. And then basically Alex and I just drove off and battled for the whole sort of race. We were very polite to each other. I knew he had a championship to win, and I think he knew that I was pretty nervous, to say the least. And sort of leapfrogged each other backwards and forwards on the straight. Had built up a pretty good sort of 8-second gap because Alex, John, and Russell came together when they pitted on, when Russell pitted on lap 2, coming into the apex, just crashed into each other. So we had nothing but space. In hindsight, I wish I had been a bit more aggressive, especially on the last lap, knowing Alex needed just to not die to make sure he wins the championship. I think if Ben was still in the race, he might have not. He probably would have been more worried about being taken out. But I think with Ben out of the race, it didn't really matter what happened. He was still going to win. So in a sense, I do kind of regret not being a little bit more aggressive and maybe trying to force the issue a bit more. But I was pretty content with where I was. Coming into the last turn, sort of, we were basically 3 seconds for the whole race away from each other. Tried to just take a really tight line and hope that I could get some kind of run to the line, but gave myself a slowdown. So I ended up losing by 3 seconds, but getting a second place, which was really awesome. But it's kind of a bit salty that it says 3 seconds when it really should have been less than half a second that I was off Alex McKellar, the champion. So it ended up being a really good night considering how worried I was about Coda.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was a good night overall. Like we've talked about a few times in a few different things. I think now, what are we 6 locked on cars in that top 10 in that second race, which is really good to see. So, I think we had a good finish to the season, and I think we're ready to go for next season, which is, I guess, the big part of it. So, that's what we've been up to. So let's move into the news and results, which this week is brought to you by Brewster Coffee. Brewster.coffee is the way to find it. That's BREWSTR. I'm scrolling around on it at the moment trying to find some reviews to bring you. I found a cafe in Adelaide that apparently has pretty good coffee, but the review's from a year ago, so I'm just flicking through trying to find some to bring up. But if you are after coffee in your local area, you go to this website, and basically there's 2 things you can do: is review someone when you have a coffee so other people can find it and tell how good it is, or you can definitely, if you want to look around and find it, like this one here I found in Yeronga, Queensland, Brisbane Corso. So it looks like it's a little mobile van, which is pretty cool, but it's super convenient and cute. 4 stars, 4 stars on speed, 4 stars on coffee quality, and 4 stars on price. And then someone else has reviewed it. Baladi is the name of this little place. Is one of Brisbane's best new coffee spots, situated in Brisbane Corso, overlooking the river. So there's a whole heap of other stuff there. So it's pretty cool. Go check it out. BREWSTR.coffee. But yes, news. Let's go into the news. I can't believe we're only up to the news. We've got some stuff for you this week. So Alex McKellar, congratulations. He has taken away, as we've probably mentioned a few times previously before, the Ozicar Formula Skip Barber. And like we did with Alex John, we thought we'd get Alex McKellar on to have a bit of a chat about his maiden win, as in series win. We found out he apparently raced back in season 2 and didn't tell anyone about it when we've been going through data. But he's tried the last couple of seasons to get his win. They've won the team championship before. They're on a 3-peat at the moment, so hopefully they don't get that in season 9. However, he did win, and we had a chat to him. So congratulations, Alex McKellar, on a great win in Aussie Formula Skip Barber season 8. And take away, Alex. And welcome Alex McKellar to the podcast yet again. Congratulations. We'll start off with that. How's it feel, Ozicar Formula Skip Barber champion for season 8?
Thanks, Wilco. G'day, Braden. Look, it's pretty cool, actually. Set myself a goal a couple of seasons ago to try and win it, and it's taken 3 to get there, which says a bit about the competition. And look, really pleased to get there at the end. And it was a good round to finish too. I wasn't expecting anything so, um, I guess, successful in the final round. Just sort of wanted to get around cleanly, but sometimes things go your way.
How did you feel going to that last round with it actually being so close? Were you nervous at all?
Oh, look, I knew it'd take a fair bit to haul back the lead. But having said that, we saw in the oval round the lead changed hands in between races
Yep.
just based on incident. So anything was possible, and just trying to get a solid result, which I think consistency is absolutely vital in these sorts of championships. So just trying to get away with that.
Definitely. Talking about consistency, we do have to say congratulations to the guy next to me. I know I said I wasn't allowed to hype him up at all, but Braden is here with us. Congratulations on third. He is the example of how consistency changes the season.
For once.
For once. What happened when Snell crashed during the race, Alex? Was that a bit of a weight off your shoulders at that stage?
Yeah, it was the week before at Monza, where he clipped the curb and
Yep.
broke the suspension. Not only was that a bit of a surprise, actually, it did take a bit of the weight off, and it dropped him back to third after that round, if I'm not mistaken. But then, it was between the three of us, Russell, Ben, and myself. And then Braden, as it turns out, in the end, which was great. But yeah, look, the two of them didn't have a great time at Coda. I said in the post race interview on SimSpeed that it's a polarizing track, and I just wanted to finish consistently on the race night, and just glad it went my way. But certainly, it didn't hurt that the mates of mine in the other green cars had a bad night.
Yeah,
It was it was a interesting season with some changes to the formats and the way the racing was held. What was your favourite part of this season?
Look, third season for me in a row, and for it to be, I guess, interesting and changing each time. Last season was brilliant with the two tracks each week, even if it was at the same location, sort of thing. But it really mixed it up. And then again, the points changes here, which are not necessarily unique to this series. You see them sometimes in other places, but you combine it with the existing format and the fact that it's different. And I've said it a couple of times during the season, just something as simple as the zero incident points giving you championship points. It really changed the way you approach racing, both in terms of wanting to get those 2 bonus points and the difference it could make, but also, if you did happen to pick up the 1X, it really changed the race from then on out, as you saw with people like Ben Snell, who, if you watched us at Nürburgring, he was free to race from pretty much lap 1 or 2 in that really tight finish, and it really meant he could push. Whereas I was thinking, well, one position up the road, if I hang on to my 2 points, it doesn't affect my championship, sort of thing. We come out even. So, a lot to think about more than just steering.
It did make me laugh on the broadcast when they were trying to work out why he hadn't set a lap time yet. And they were so confused, like thinking, does he have a penalty? Has he had a slowdown he hasn't been able to clear? I'm like, guys, have you not watched Ben race? Once that off-track bonus is gone, there is no limits.
Yeah, exactly right. And, it just mixes things up so much. So, hats off to Ira for the innovation.
Yeah, definitely. I can tell you now, I did, because I missed the start on the first race, and all I was battling for was that bonus for the 0x. And then in race 2, as soon as I went off right at the start, it was I was attacking corners a lot more than I possibly would, and it was a good feeling. But have you got a highlight from the season so far, or the season itself?
Oh,
Chastity
hard to
punting
say.
you at
it's
the
hard to go
Speedway,
past
maybe.
So, I can laugh now, right?
Yeah.
Look, it's hard to go past the dead heat at Monza.
Oh, geez,
right?
yeah.
Can I tell you? We've had this a couple of times, and Ben is just my nemesis when it comes to this kind of finish. He's such a good steerer, as you probably know. He drifts in real life. And I reckon it gives him the control and the confidence to do stuff like you see, exploiting the full extent of the track and a bit more at times. But what it also means is that he's got, I guess, the confidence and the calmness in those pressure situations to be thinking ahead. So I reflect back to the Le Mans race, and we'd been thinking fuel strategy and draft and this, that, and the other thing the whole way through, and I was focused on that in throughout the race, right? Meanwhile, Ben's doing that, having not done as much practice as the rest of us, just quietly,
Yep.
but he's also thinking, how do I attack those last few corners to win the race? And we spoke about it afterwards, and that was something that I learned. I really took on board, and for the last couple of races, I worked on that in addition to everything else. So, Braden, I'll let you in on a tip, and it was David Haynes spotted it in the race broadcast, and full shout out to him. Really big compliment to David, because he's done it 2 or 3 times this season where he's picked exactly what I was thinking at the time, right? So I looked at the lap count, and I knew on odds I needed to be in front, and on evens I needed to be behind you. And I was thinking about that last lap sort of halfway through the race sort of thing. And that was something that I picked up, and why, Le Mans, but in particular the racing that I've had with Ben throughout at the front, there's been a highlight for me.
Yeah,
It's funny you should say that, because I was thinking about the lap count as well, but I think I was just so nervous that I was up near the front and managing to hold on to a podium that I was like, I actually don't care if I come second at this point. I was like, I'm not going to do something stupid and crash you out for sure with the championship on the line. And then, I was like, I'm pretty content where I am. Although I must admit, I was so tempted to make that dive up the inside when you did cross me on that big long straight. I was like, that's probably not the right move to do. So I pulled out.
But I had confidence in it, and like I was only half joking on the radio, but the serious bit that I said during the race to you, mate, was that you got this. Like you'd earned your spot up there, and you'd every right to be there based on the effort that you put in. So from my point of view, I was actually trying to give you a bit of confidence and calm you a bit so that you could go all right. But hey, can I just say, I was looking at the standings before. We've actually got 2 Locked On iRacing podcast podium sitters in the room at the moment, because Wilco, you were 3rd in the road to 2K as well,
Yeah,
mate.
a little sneaky thing that went under the radar, and I don't mind it going under the radar. It was, I'll give you the heads up. I was a little bit nervous when I disconnected that first race. I'm like, here we go. It's all come to this. And that's the end of it. But luckily, a few other people had some bad rounds, and I had that top 10 in the last race, which sort of sealed it. But it would look, honestly, shout out to Ira yet again. The road to 2K has kept me more interested in this season. Like, cool, I finished 15th, which is a great effort for the thing, but I finished 3rd in the road to 2K, which is a huge effort. So it really kept my focus going a lot differently than it has for the last 8 seasons that we've been going for now. So yeah, it is a really big effort, and we're actually putting a specialized road to 2K team in this season as well. So looking forward to announcing that fairly soon. So yeah,
nice one. Look, I agree with you. I mean, for me, and Ben was the first one to say it at a point, probably in the first full season that I did, where he said, it's the full extent of the field that keeps it as interesting as anything else, right? Like I'm used to racing with the Milo guys and AJ a lot. We've done officials together for the last few years, and we have a great time, right? But there's more than that in leading and winning a championship against 30 plus other drivers, and they're not going to come back if it's not interesting for them too. So have that extra bit of innovation in there, I think is great. And it gives you something to chase, right?
Yeah, well, Ira's always talked about that, your fast guys will come back because they want to win, but you're keeping your middle pack and rear drivers coming back week in, week out, which keeps a league going on, and that's what he's sort of focused on. So shout out to him, like I said, for doing such a great job.
Yeah, absolutely. Great innovation.
Yeah.
So what are you looking forward to next season?
Oh, look, I'm looking forward to more of the style of track again. I mean, I like I enjoyed this season for the style of track. A lot of people don't like big drafty tracks in the skips, but I actually think that the flow of the Grand Prix circuits typically suit the car. It's a momentum car, and maybe it's just me, but I like them equally as much as you do the short technical stuff. There's a few alternate layouts at different tracks that are shorter, and you don't even, you're lucky if you get the skip into fifth gear, which are probably worth considering. But certainly my preference is, the longer style tracks. I did a couple of laps at Red Bull Ring yesterday just to check it out because I bought it for the season. That's a bit of fun as well. So looking forward to seeing what the racing's like there as well.
Well, a few of the guys have already started practicing there as well. They're very much looking forward to the season. No break, no turnaround. We assume Alex John's coming back to defend. By the way, congratulations on getting the team's trophy as well, considering Alex didn't turn up for a week. But yeah, Alex is coming back to join you for another season.
Yeah, we're going to try and three-peat if we can.
You don't have to if you don't want
to. Well, there's some new... I'm wondering about the locked-on lineups for this season, if there might be some orders shuffled to potentially have a crack at it.
Discussions, but I don't think that discussion went over too well. So we're I don't know. We'll see this. We'll see this week.
The drivers might have been trying to overturn the team boss. Maybe I don't know. That's what I heard.
Because I was sitting there, watching the last race, and I'm thinking there's a lot less green than I'm used to up here.
Look, we
had 6 in the top 10.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I said I think I don't know where I've said it so many times. I've talked to so many people about it, but it was one of the more proud moments where a track that's known for cars spinning out, and it showed some of the best guys crashing out, and Locked On's been known from the start of spinning out a fair bit, but we finished 6th in the top 10, and it was a really proud moment for me that we got.
That was without Chastity as well, wasn't it?
Chastity got taken out by by Savinol like it was a murder, absolute murder. He just went
what happened? What happened? I don't know. What was the final adjudication?
Racing incident.
I think they said racing incident.
Yeah.
I
didn't really.
And said you need to protest this, and he's gone okay.
I didn't have any skin in that game because it's neither of my teammates sort of thing, but I didn't know which way to go because Donald's in the lane, right?
Yep.
And then Chastity comes across late, they were, I guess, both can claim to be unsighted on that, to be fair.
Yeah. I think it came down to if Chastity,
it's a tough one.
Chastity hadn't have cut across to get into the lane, which was something he got shown before the race. Am I allowed to say that? I probably shouldn't say that. But the fact that Donald was counter steering at the time when he hit him, when he wasn't going to hit the apex, that's why I honestly, the reason I said it was because Mitesy came fourth, and I went, I want to get Mitesy, like we can get Mitesy a 30 if we protest this. Just jokingly, nice. But if it had have happened, Mitesy did so well, so I just wanted him to get a bit of limelight. But look, racing incident every day of the week because both were at fault. So.
Agreed. It was an interesting one. I was interested in any other people's views because I couldn't pick it myself. I would have probably called it racing just on that basis.
Yeah, no, it was good, and it was a very good night. The Kota, for all its, I hated it going in, and I never liked it beforehand. That's why I haven't bought it until just before we went there, and it turned out to be a really good run of racing. So thank you, Ira, for making me race tracks I probably would never race.
We had a chat about it. AJ described it as lacking soul, and I'd probably agree with him. And I was saying to them, the guys in chat, that I read an article about how it was put together and how it was the people who designed it were talking about combining some of the best elements of other tracks around the world.
Yeah.
To me, that just spells Frankenstein, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't really achieve anything. If you're mediocre across the board, you don't really achieve greatness at anything. So
it's look, it's a track we'd have to go back there for a while. I'm not looking forward to Catalunya for the same reason. I just really, really, really hate it. But that's coming up next season. Thanks, Ira.
Who knows? You might have a top 5 if you hate it that much this time.
Oh, God, I hope so. I need something like that. But look, it's going to be fun. So, like I said, congratulations, and you are coming back to defend the title, both titles. Any track you're looking forward to in particular, so we can work really hard at trying to beat you there?
Look, obviously, probably the Red Bull Ring the most. Yep. Like I said, a couple of laps there last night, and it looks like a bit of fun. Simple enough, but challenging enough, particularly on that downhill run into the final stretch. You really want to be committed there, but it's so easy to overshoot. And, if you put it in the context of wanting to keep your 0x, you can overshoot and cost yourself a couple of points pretty quickly.
Yep, definitely. Okay, cool. Well, thank you for dropping by. Congratulations. And I'm sure we'll be chatting to you again soon, sometime in the very near future.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Great to catch up.
No problem. See you, mate. Thank you for that, Alex. I'm sure we will talk to you again soon. Once again, another person who's probably going to win something fairly soon, and we'll hear about him later on in the podcast when he talks about Sunday Night Lights. Let's move on to the next little bit of news that happened this week, which Hybrid Racing Simulations has been teasing some stuff. They've definitely, they announced that they're working with Shane Van Gisbergen on some things, and this is the first little bit that has started to come out about that. So they've been hinting at it, but they've actually shown off now this new wheel that they're working on, that they've designed with Shane Van Gisbergen. There'll be a limited of 100 wheels only made. They're not taking pre-orders as yet, but keep an eye out for the future when this actually comes to fruition. It's based on the OMP 310 ALU GT wheel rim. And looks snazzy as hell. There is buttons and toggles out the wazoo. There is an actual display built into this wheel as well. This thing will not be cheap, and there is a very limited number of these. So, Braden, I shared this in the Discord. What do you think of this little beauty that's going to cost an arm and a leg, but is going to be worth it?
I know it piqued your interest, that's for sure.
It definitely did. That's why we're talking about it.
No, it's beautiful. It looks great. It's definitely one of those things where you'll buy that and you'll never have to buy another wheel again. It's got everything you need. Looks great. Knowing it's from HRS means it'll be absolutely top-notch quality. But yeah, I do think it will come with a pretty price tag, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking at it now. I reckon I can see at least 15 or so buttons on there. There's at least 4 dials. It looks like there's triggers behind, which are probably that is the gear shifter. And obviously the display. The display looks nuts. And it's got the rev lights on it as well, with the brake lock-up lights on the side of it as well. And it's got SVG's actual thing, and it'll have a unit number, so number whatever of 100 on there as well. Comes with a sign thing to say that it is limited edition, and super comfortable from what they're testing. But this is basically Shane going to them and saying, "Can you make me a special wheel?" And you can probably sell it if you want to as a separate thing. But they're basically designed for him for all his GT racing that he's doing. So yeah, very, very excited about that. Go to Hybrid Racing Simulations, follow their Facebook page. You'll get all the links and details on there, or hrsims.com is the other place you can go to check it out. There's a little bit of photos and stuff like that on there as well. However, let's go on to the next piece of news and the final piece of news for today. And we just, as we probably do, we generally talk about the registrations for Ozicar, Formula Skip Barber, and now Formula Vees. And we also want to go through some predictions we did. We want to revisit them and probably maybe predict this season as well, I guess. But at this stage, I'm looking at Skip Barber series info. We have 27 people have re-registered or joined. So there are some new faces in there as well. There's some notable omissions there. What's going on, Milo Racing or Van Diemen Racing? Sorry, what's
not even the Noodle Squad.
Yeah, I know. So it's very interesting stuff.
Fashionably late, maybe.
Well, hopefully. We've got the 15 million Locked On Racing cars. We do have an announcement to go with that. Ashley Knowles has joined Locked On Racing to form, because we've got Tim Harris we brought in for the BMWs, which he also does Skip Barber. So he's going to team up with Tim Court. We're going to do the Tim Tam car, which won't be painted Tim Tams at all. We've just changed Tim Harris's name to Tam just for this. But what it means is me and Ashley Knowles will be racing for the Road to 2K. So we're going to have a Locked On Lads Road to 2K team. So that's a little bit of an announcement for you. He will be also driving in the V's under Locked On Racing, but just by himself at this stage. We've got about 7 other teams here from High Octane Sim Sport. You've got ORT, which is the Ozicar Racing team. Missed Apex is back again. White Knuckles there. Team Wolfpack Racing, which is interesting. Top Splits again back. We don't have Chicken Up at this stage. So there is... Chicken Up is in V's. I was hoping they'd come across, but they haven't. But yeah, so that's what we're looking at for that at the moment. The Road to 2K has 15 people. very interesting enough, the last person on that list is now Clayton Davies.
Mm.
So
There you
there we
go.
go. He'll be joining the team. I wonder if he with Brady Baldwin. I wonder if he's going to race with him under his team. But that's very, very interesting. Let's go to the V Series info, which has 38 people registered
I know,
already.
it's another big field.
And Chaz Mostert is in there. Ryan Jones, unfortunately, is in there. There's a few people with same last names in here as well, I've noticed as well. So Jamie Skeller's back to probably get some revenge on the last couple of races of last season. Simon Hetterscheid as well. Philip Howe is joining back again. 17 people in the road to 2K, and the team list is massive. White Knuckles there, A&M Racing, Black Sheep Racing under the Locked On banner is there, Ward Racing, Alpha Racing Team, SSS Racing, New Zealand Sim Racing with Max Donnelly, who is probably one of the picks for the road to 2K, if that's where he's sitting. I'm not sure. I've got to find that out. I probably just said something if not. Chill Out Motorsports is there. Or Araco Racing. ORT has got 2 teams, and Locked On Lads has 2 teams and a spare driver at this stage. So, yeah, there's some interesting there. And as I look at it, Max Donnelly's not in the road to 2K, so it's all good. Yeah, that's a pretty good lineup, don't you reckon?
Very good. Yeah, it's going to be some big, interesting races for sure. It'll be interesting, I suppose, to see if Cameron Dance can, go back to back and take the first 2 championships of the V series. I guess. Do we want to make some predictions?
Yeah, what do we want to start at? V's or skips?
Well, we could start with these. So, is anyone bold enough to go against Cameron Dance going back to back? I don't think I am. I think I'm backing him in.
Look, I honestly think it's hard to do, and I don't think I can go against him. But if I was going to, and I'm gonna have a crack here, I'm gonna put some money on Jamie Skeller.
Yeah.
I know Lee Partridge will be there. He will be. I think there's your top 3. I just think Cam Dance is something a little bit special. Obviously, the wild horse that I haven't touched on yet is Ryan Simpson. Where's Ryan Simpson ends up? He is an actual national champion in the real Formula V's. Does he come through and sweep this with better than everyone else?
Well, I noticed he did set the fastest time in practice the other day, so he's definitely not going to be slow.
So, look, it's a stacked field again. I just can't wait to see what happens. But let's go Ryan. That's it. Ryan Simpson to Cam Dance to Jamie Skeller to Lee Partridge. That's my top 4.
Very nice.
Road to 2K. Look, I'd like to say Vic Velson's 1 on the list, and he stays there. I don't think that will happen. I'd love to say Ashley Knowles gets up there as well for us.
To be fair, Ryan Simpson's on that list. Don't know if you should be on the list if you're a national Formula V champion, but
I'm calling it now. He's going to do a Lee Partridge and win by 250 points, unfortunately. And as for the teams, like Chicken Up's not in there.
No.
I know. There's some. Do I do it? Let's call it. Let's go. Locked On Lads. Vernie and Vic lost by 2 points last year. I really think Aussie car racing team in Lee Partridge and Sean McKenzie have a fairly good shot at this.
So does Stuart Crawford and Daniel Hedderscheid, to be fair.
That is very true as well. Chill Out Motorsports has 3 drivers. One of them is Ryan Simpson, so I don't know how that's going to go. Mikey Harland is up and around there as well. So, look, I'm going to call it. I'm going to say my boys can get up over one of the Aussie car racing teams. What do you reckon?
There you go.
Where's your calls?
Well, I think it's a coin toss, isn't it? Like
It is.
Maybe a coin toss, but the coin needs to have about 5 different sides. I guess maybe closer to being a dice roll than a coin toss. But yeah, I think it's going to be bloody close. That's my prediction.
There you go. Sitting on that fence. Hope those splinters don't get you, mate. So let's go to Skip Barber. Let's go firstly. What do you think Okay, do you want to go through what you predicted for yourself or for everything else?
Well, yeah, quickly, I guess we should touch on last season's predictions before we move on. So we sort of made some predictions last season. I think I backed McKellar in to win, so I'm happy. I'm going to give that a tick for that prediction.
Yeah.
My predictions for myself, I went back and listened to this because I was intrigued to see, and I basically said that I finished 7th the season before. So, I'd really like to think I could try and push for a top 5, but sort of said with the quality of the field, I don't think that's possible. And basically said, if I managed to stay within the top 10, I think that would be a relatively successful season. But I'd really like to see myself somehow, by some miracle, get back on the podium at some point in time. And I did say that it would need to come with a degree of luck. So managed to come 3rd. So big tick on that prediction.
Yep.
Well, I guess overachieved on what my prediction probably was. And managed to get back on the podium as well. And it was to do with probably a little bit of luck. So I guess that was a tick for my prediction as well. Now I went back and listened to your prediction as well. And your prediction was that you'd be really stoked if you could get in the top 15 in the championship and would like to get a top 10 finish at some point. And it was funny, we were talking before the podcast starts. And I sort of said, you got 15th, which is exactly where you were. And you managed to get that top 10 in the last round that you wanted. But overall, I felt like you still probably felt there was more in it. And that was frustrating. So even though you got that 15 that you thought you were stoked, I think as the season went on, you probably wanted higher. Would I be right in saying that?
Yeah, look, I think it was definitely a season of missed opportunities. I actually got 2 top 10s last season, which
I missed one.
Yeah, so at the Nürburgring race 1, where I was actually sitting 6th for a while and then let Chastity pass and about 3 other cars pass, which ended up I bolted. You got the penalty, which got me into 9th because Mitesy got the slowdown, which got me into 10th on the track. So that was one of my highlights. And then from that race, I'm like, here we go. This is good. Like I've had a 13th, a 17th, and a 9th. I can follow on with this, and then had a 28th a 22nd in race 2, and things sort of went like the enduro. I thought I was better than what I finished. USA International, I stuffed up the first race and then felt like I was better than what I finished in the second race with a spin. Monza, I could have done better. I had issues going in, but I felt like I had more pace than what the results I was getting. And I felt like it's hard because you get those 10ths and you're like, yeah, cool. Nürburgring was definitely... It was a fair go. I qualified really well and got a really good position, didn't spin or anything like that. But Circuit Americas was cool. I got 10th, but I was 23 seconds off 9th, and there's a lot of cars that got taken out. So
yeah,
that sort of made it feel like I was probably better than I was. I think it's a hard one.
I think one of the main predictions for myself, or I guess things I said I needed to do, was try and eliminate those silly mistakes. And I think that's what I did this season. I didn't really make any big errors except for the one little tap on Russell at Nürburgring, which gave me that penalty. Apart from that, I didn't really put a foot wrong. I think I got everything out of myself that I possibly could, just about. I had a bad qualifying here and there, but managed to recover pretty well throughout the race. So I think that was the big difference.
The 2 things I wanted to work on was 3 things I wanted to work on. 2 things. One of them I didn't really like. Cold tire management. Probably not as good as I should have been, but I tried. That's probably where my weakest point was, but it wasn't as bad as the previous seasons. It was definitely the little mistakes, and I made 2 fairly significant mistakes, probably 3. If you count the spin in the last round of Coda, but took out Vernie at the speedway. And spun at no, it wasn't Monza, it was one of the other ones. But yeah, I took out Stuart Crawford in the ring in race 2. So that was better than the previous season, where it would seem to be like almost every race. And fighting for position, which I usually just give up positions, and I definitely did that probably. That was the end of last season, the season before, so I reckon I did better at that this season, but yeah, I'm happy with my results. I just feel like I probably, now in hindsight, I probably should have said top 12 or something like that. So,
All right. Well, you've got your chance now. So, what are your predictions for this season? For yourself
I-
first, and then we'll
for
go with
myself
Ozicar in
first,
general.
I would like to finish top 10. That would be huge. It would require me to do a lot of work, which I don't have time for at the moment. I think definitely a top 12 would be a sort of a pass mark this time around. But top 10 is my goal. I do want to win the road to 2K. I'll say that now. I think I said last season that I had a good shot at it, which I did. Now Dennis Hancock is out of the running because he's won it already. Really leaves me and Brady Baldwin and a handful of others who will improve. Especially, I think Ashley Knowles, now he's joined us, will see a huge improvement as well.
Tim with a full season.
Tim with a full season as well. There's definitely some people there that it'll
I
be a
think
lot
that'll
closer.
be the most hotly contested thing, I reckon. I think it's actually going to be a really good battle.
Yeah, definitely. So, look, I think there's that. Definitely top 3 in that again is a must. I can't go backwards in that league. The team championship, I don't think that me and Ashley are going to go huge in it, but I think we can get a locked on in the top 3 again. I want to get 2 locked on in the top 3. Depends on what happens with Milo, I guess, is the big question mark right now. McKellar and John's hard to go past to the 3-peat. They are dominating. They're 2 of the best drivers in the league. They've won the last 2 seasons individually. I don't see that changing as far as teams go.
Yeah, and they won pretty handily this season with Alex missing a whole round. So Alex John,
exactly. So look, I'd love to say that you and Vernie would finish 3rd or 2nd, or Chastity and Mites. I think both of you 2 teams have a good chance, and we'll probably take points off each other to get to there.
I think, judging by the paints, Chastity and I are together.
Oh, we changed it, have we? I didn't think we had, but
I think Tim's made the executive decision with the paints. So,
if that's the case, look, I think you guys got a good chance.
Okay.
I know Vernie. I took him out last season, and I know he's recovering from his back injury still. I think we got 4 really good drivers. I think we got 4 drivers that can not quite do a green wall, but they can definitely break up that green wall. And I think Tim's not far off it. Both those 2 teams are just that next step down, but they're very close to being up there as well. So there's almost 6 cars that can be up there. I don't know. Good luck to you all. That's all I want to say.
And what about for the season? What are for the Aussie car in general? Who's going to take it out this season?
It's really, really hard to go past Alex McKellar, isn't it? Although, how much effort did he put in last season compared to what he'll put in this season? Now he's won it.
Is the hunger still there? Is that what you're questioning? You're questioning the hunger.
I'm trying to see him on the list. Is he even on the list?
He's
somewhere there, isn't he? He is.
He
is. Who beats him though? Like Alex John?
I'm gonna go out on a
Chastity?
limb. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it's Chastity's season this time.
Yeah.
That'd think
be awesome.
I think if there's no Milo cars and it's him and Alex 1-on-1 at the front without the Milo cars battling, I think he's got a really good chance of getting the job done. I think it'll be a lot closer. I think the Milo
cars come in. I think they arrive late, fashionably. I still think Chastity's got a good chance, don't I?
I'm backing you in, Chastity. I'm backing you in. No pressure.
So much. See, then I think Ben Snell, if he does turn up, I think he's a huge chance as well. I'm going to go Alex McKellar back to back. There you go. Right. Done. Let's move on.
I'm going Chastity. For myself,
How do you think you're going to go?
Well, I think there's two trains of thoughts. If the Milo cars show up, let's assume they do. I think I don't think I'd be... Not that I wouldn't be happy, but I think anything outside the top 5 would maybe not probably be quite not up to standard because, Ben, Alex, Donald, Chastity, all of those guys are probably faster than me. So
No, they're not. They're not.
I think overall they are. Not by much. I'm definitely getting up there, but I think overall they are, which means that's 5 drivers already in front of me. But I think I can mix it with them. So I think I can take some positions off them, and if I can stay consistent, I should get a top 5. If the Milos don't show up, I would probably want to try and get on the podium again. That would be the goal. But yeah, I think top 5's a reasonable goal. If I can get some podiums in the races, maybe aim for more than 1 podium in the race this season. That would be pretty cool. I guess that would be my goal. And if Chastity and I are together, I think top 2 in the championship for teams would probably be pretty realistic as well.
Yep, definitely. Okay. Well, there you go. That's everything. Let's move into the results after an hour of podcasting. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we'll go through the Ozicar stuff pretty quick because we've spoken about it at length. Enough. Yeah.
Anyway, so the news, the results this week is brought to you by CD Cinematography. Go check out Clayton Davies on Facebook, CD Cinematography. Get some photos done. And like I said, he's doing some really good stuff with road stuff at the moment. Really atmospheric photos. And now he's going to be racing Skip Barbers. I'm going to be interested to see what he does in that. So go check him out. Help out the person who's helping us out. That's what we really want to see. He's definitely helping us out. So hopefully you guys can go support him, and we'll move into the actual results. So Formula Vee, one and done. And I actually watched this race. I did a broadcast, a bootleg broadcast on Locked On Lads. So if you want to check that out, it's on Facebook, because we nearly won the championship. You can watch my devastated face, unfortunately, as we lost. So let's go through the results. Do you want to start with this? No, that's easy. I can do this because it's Lee Partridge had the win over Chris Noble and Daniel Hederscheid. We saw Cam Dance make a very uncharacteristic mistake at Alton Park in race 1 and spun it. Started first, got back to 11th in the end. Once again, we're going to say his name again, Max Donnelly, 19th up to 9th. Very good job. Dennis Hancock, 10th up to 6th. Was a really good job at the front of the field. Paul Jackson, once again, 26th up to 17th. Was some of the big movers. We got a fastest lap to Nathan Verney. Absolute legend. Well done. 135.428 was fastest lap of the race. Unfortunately, he got tangled up in a race 1 incident with, I think it was Mitchell Dean as well, who was the Chicken Up guys end up winning that. If Verney had got around the outside of them and missed that accident, I think we win the championship.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he got ricocheted into, and nothing he could do about it. So, very good race 1 though. It was good, close pack racing. Lee Partridge got away in the end by about 2 seconds, unfortunately, because of Cam Dance spinning out. But yeah, very, very good race 1.
It was probably the best round of these this season. I think after finally getting used to each other. The little bit longer track. It wasn't much longer than the other tracks they've done.
It was the island layout, so
just
halfway down the back straight or the main straight. So.
Yeah, so I think just that little bit more spread out, and the racing was really, really good.
Yeah, so then we went on to race 2, which Cam Dance was involved in the finish, but unfortunately for him, Daniel Hederscheid came through and took the win. Now, I predicted Skeller was probably going to get there after his little pit stop that he had, and then turned out it was such a quick pit stop because he went through pit lane a little bit too fast and had to come back and do it again. So I jinxed him through the broadcast. I'm sorry about that, mate. But Kirk Broadhurst and Nathan Verney ported out to the end for third and fourth, respectively. Once again, another spot that 2 points was the team's championship. These two were fighting it out. Unfortunately, half a second cost us, but these things happen. Jamie Skeller did get the fastest lap of the race in race 2, so well done to him. In that, Mitchell Dean, unfortunately for us, came from 22nd without a qualifying spot up to 6th, and also Lee Partridge without a qualifying spot. And I think had contact with our very own Callum Heinrich in that race, 24th up to 8th. Still very good effort. Martin Turner, unfortunately for us, 21st up to 9th.
We thought we
Let's
were
have a
on when
look.
we saw the two chicken up cars miss their qualifying, but not to be.
And I called it box seat because at one stage, because Nick Scarju went down the inside and took, I think it was Martin Turner out as well. So I'm like, oh, here we go. We're box seating now because we're way in front. And then, yeah, unfortunately,
They just kept
they-
picking their positions
Chicken
up.
Up guys did a way better drive. They really did knuckle down and nail that last race. So well done to you guys. Other big movers, that's pretty much Rick Berger, sorry, 26 up to 15th was another great effort. So well done. That brings us to, well, I guess the overall championship went to Cameron Dance, as we heard from in the news. 520 points over Lee Partridge in 495. Was sort of in there until Lee had that accident and didn't qualify as well. They were the two big things that obviously took him out of the championship in the end. Sean McKenzie in third, 448, just ahead of Daniel Heddershide. Very good effort from him, and Kirk Broadhurst rounds out the 5. So well done also to Dennis Hancock Mitchell Dean in 6th, Dennis Hancock in 7th, Nathan Verney, our very own Nathan Verney in 8th, Paul Jackson in 9th, and Stuart Crawford into 10th. Let's quickly touch on the road to 2K. As we said, Lee Partridge completely wrapped that up before the race had even started. Dennis Hancock into 2nd, Paul Jackson into 3rd. Really not a huge amount of points there differing everyone, but Max Donnelly, shout out to him, very well done, into 4th as well. Jackie Chalmers from overseas there into 5th, just ahead of our very own Vic Ben Phelpson. Leon Williams in 7th, Rick Berger in 8th, Aiden Schultz in 9th, and Mick Taylor in 10th. Which takes me to, I can't do it. Can you do the team results for me?
So Chicken Up Racing, Martin Turner and Mitch Dean, just getting the nod ahead of the Locked On iRacing Interviews team by just 2 points. So one position in the top 5, or a 0x bonus in one of the races is all that separated them by the end of the series. Intersim Esports Racing in 3rd, Locked On Black Sheep Racing 4th, Team 111 Esports 5th, Top Split Racing still 6th after not participating in the last 2 or 3 rounds, White Knuckle Racing 7th, Locked On iRacing News and Results 8th, and the rest were single driver teams.
Yep. Well done, Vernie, and well done, Vic. Do we mention that they took each other out, and that's probably where the 2 points came from in Tsukuba? No, we don't mention that.
We won't talk about that.
Aussie Formula Skip Barber. Actually, no, before we go on this Aussie Formula Skip Barber, we want to touch base with Jay Kennedy from SimSpeed TV, the absolute legend. He's going to give us a wrap-up of SCOPS from the weekend where they went to Belle Isle. So take it away, Jay. And welcome, Jay Kennedy, to the podcast. How are you going, mate?
Absolutely fantastic, mate. How are you?
Oh, no, let's move on. Next question, please. We are here to talk SCOPS, and the SCOPS went to Belle Isle, the V8s raced around Belle Isle. Now, I know what that sounds like. That sounds like carnage from the start, but Super Split 2 did pretty well. What happened, mate?
Yeah, it was a relatively clean race overall. I mean, sure, there were incidents, but the fact that we didn't have a safety car period throughout shows that the guys in Split 2, who often race relatively clean, once again, raced relatively clean. A lot of respect shown in Split 2, which is always really good to see. A few incidents, a few little bits of controversy, but definitely a much cleaner race than Split 1, which we'll talk about soon. But yeah, a really, really fun night of racing at Belle Isle. Belle Isle has, since its inception in the series a couple of years ago, provided great racing, real action, and it spreads out the field a bit, but what it does, it really, really puts emphasis on great passing, which is what you want to see. You want to see some really good battles, and that's what Belle Isle does produce.
Yeah, definitely. So I see here, pole sitter Glenn Postlethwaite didn't go too well. What? Can we jump straight into the controversy, or what happened?
Yeah, Possie's issues weren't too controversial as such. He did end up with a broken engine and had to retire. Bradley Vaughan started second, and he absolutely launched off the line brilliantly and led into turn 1 and never looked back from that point and picked up the win. We were looking like we may have had another rematch from last week, which was Bradley Vaughan versus Brian Borg. Of course, those two came together in Split 2 last week. They finished first and second this time, but Borgie couldn't quite close up. He was starting to close in with about 5 laps to go, got within 2 seconds, but couldn't quite get it down and let Bradley Vaughan get away on the last lap. And Vaughan picked up the golden ticket, won by 4.5 seconds.
Can I shout out the top 10? There's only 2 people that didn't get a 0x for the whole 24 laps around Belle Isle. Now I know there's nowhere really to cut a corner, but I guess 0x against the wall, but no hit, no anyone else. That's very clean racing. Very, very well done to that top crew. Looking at it though, Mark Newton, 19th up to 9th, was really good drive, and 20th was Varga. Started 20th and got 11th as well. So some really good stuff there. But Vaughan obviously happy getting through again.
Yeah, very, very happy. And he didn't go too good once he got into split one, because he actually got DQ'd in qualifying because he broke the golden rule of ANZCAR's no escape rule. Of course, there's no issues when you're in split two, because you only have to worry about the no escape rule in the race and ask for permission to tow. But he escaped from the track in qualifying in split one, instant disqualification. So rather than putting in a decent lap time, he had to start from last. So a little bit unfortunate for Brad, but he did a good job in the race. He actually got himself up to 22nd, one of the biggest movers in the field. So plus 17 positions.
Yeah, him and Bailey Frid in front of him as well, 36th up to 21st. Some really good driving there. There's even ahead of that. Look at this. You've got all these top 30 qualifiers in the teens, which is very, very good effort.
Yeah, but Thomas Hinds, the biggest mover, was from 35th. So he was the slowest qualifier, and ended up putting himself into 9th in the end, which was a really, really good drive. Well-deserved result too. And shout out as well to Stenny and Brad Christensen as well, and Brenton Hobson, who all had great results qualifying back in the field and working their way forward. So well done to those guys. But overall, it was a very, very controversial race, and that the fallout from it is still ongoing. That's how controversial it is.
Oh, wow.
So lots of penalties given out. Controversial one was after the first safety car, which was around about lap 20 odd from memory. Jared Filsell got a drive-through penalty. When he received the penalty, it appeared that his pace dropped off a little bit while he was in the lead, and may have checked up the pack. He says that it's due to tyres falling off. But there's a lot of conjecture around what actually happened. What that did do caused a little bit of a bump and run between he and Cooper Webster. Cooper made contact with him, put him just into the tyre bundle. From that, it then checked up the group with Jordan Caruso getting through. Filsell was forced to the outside of the group. And then Jake Burton made contact into the rear of Cooper Webster, who was spun at turn 12. While he was sitting in the middle of the track, his teammate, James Scott, made contact with him. He ended up out of the race. And then Lee Ellis came around the corner, head on into him, and both of those cars blew up, which brought out another safety car. Filsell was lucky in that aspect, because at that point, when the safety car was called, he was serving his drive-through penalty, which then means it was cleared. So he got himself back into the battle. I think he rejoined about 13th or 14th. He also had fresher tyres than everyone else, worked his way back through the field. In the end, finished second. But Jordan Caruso picks up his 4th win of the year, 4th ever win in V8 Sculpts all this year.
It's crazy.
And Blake Purdy as well, finishing in 32nd ever V8 Sculpts podium. The last one he picked up was when we had the reverse sprint races last year, so reverse grid races last year. He picked up a 3rd, and this year gets a legitimate 3rd. And Madison Downing 4th, who had a shocking qualifying by his standard, qualifying 9th.
Yeah, don't you hate that when you qualify 9th in Scops? It's terrible, isn't it? Looking forward to talk to Madison fairly soon. But look, I'm looking at the bottom of the grid, as you said. Lee Ellis, Ethan Warren, Adam Briggs, James Scott, Cooper Webster, Ethan Griggold. You've got Emily Jones I saw down there. Like, there's some huge names that didn't quite get to the end of the race. So well done to those who actually did. And Thomas Hinds, obviously a great drive from him as well. Shame Cooper Webster having the fastest lap of the race as well. So looked like Altus probably had some pace there this week.
Yeah, Altus definitely had pace. So we're at one point looking like they may have locked out the podium with Caruso, Scott, and Webster. But of course, Webster and Scott making contact with each other after Cooper was spun, about 16 or 17 laps to go. Sort of put paid to that. which is a little bit disappointing for those guys because they definitely have deserved some great results. They have been the pace setters this year. They likely won't win the championship just based on Cooper and Jordan's real world commitments, meaning they can't race the full season. But never say never. There's always surprises that can happen, especially with endurance season right around the corner. But it's likely to be a TTR battle within themselves on who will win the championship, just based on the fact those guys can't do the full season.
That's it. But no, Jordan Caruso, absolutely amazing season so far. What a huge jump forward for him. Now, what are we doing next week? Not next week, the week after. We've got a week break here for the first time.
We've got 3 weeks. 3 weeks break. Yeah, a little bit of time to recharge the batteries, but mid-August, endurance mode kicks off. We start our endurance season at Imola, and it's turned into one of the most entertaining and enjoyable enduros we've had in V8 Scops, just because it provides really good racing in the V8. That's on the 15th of August. Broadcast time will be 1 o'clock, of course, 40-car grid. Qualifying, though, is the best part we have for that. Full field, 1-lap shootout, so everyone gets their time in the spotlight. We love it. We started it a few years ago when we used to have the retro round so that we could give everyone a chance to showcase their liveries. But the format was so fun, we're doing it again. So we'll have a full field shootout for that, and a little bit of a sneaky spoiler as well. Long Beach will also have a full field shootout like we had for Belle Isle last year. So there's a little spoiler as well for you.
There you go. Thanks for all the hot goss there. That's going to be awesome. But yeah, Enduro season, very much looking forward to this. Seeing some different names getting up there as well, to see who's going to drive with who. Looking forward to seeing some special names up there. But thank you, Jay Kennedy, for all your help getting Scops information out there to everyone, because I know they definitely want to hear it. And we'll talk to you hopefully in 3 weeks' time, if not beforehand, for some other stuff. We'll see.
Thank you, mate. Pleasure to be here.
Have a good one, mate. See you, bye.
Bye.
Thanks for that, Jay. You're an absolute legend. We maybe talk to you soon. We'll see. Let's go to Aussie Formula Skip Barber, which we talked about at length. So let's quickly go through those results officially. Do you want to take it away, Braden, this time?
Yep.
I've talked for ages.
So race 1 went to championship winner Alex McKellar from James Chastanoff and Ben Snell, snatching the podium from my grasp at the very last second. Myself in 4th, Alex John 5th, Donald Sabanel in 6th, Matthew Mites 7th, Lee Harrison 8th, Nathan Verney 9th, and Tim Corn rounding out the top 10. Obviously, what do we got there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 locked-on cars within the top 10 again in race 1, which is really good to see. Some noticeable movers. Russell Clark came from 29th up to 12th, fighting his way through the field in what wasn't a great night of qualifying for him. And they were the main big movers, to be honest.
Sean McKenzie, 16th to 11th, is probably the only one. Everyone sort of hung around where they finished. I guess Alex John 8th to 5th is sort of a big move, considering where everyone else was. So it's really hard to say. Anthony Connors, 28th up to 21st, was a good effort. 31st up to 22nd for Sean Carey as well.
Yep. So, yeah, pretty even field, I suppose. Like, not too much movement here and there, but people dropping up a few places here or there. So that was race 1. Alex John had the fastest race in race 1, and from what I can see, not one car except for you, Peter, got the incident point bonus. So well done to you. The only car in the field to manage to get the no incident point bonus. So good job.
It's easy when there's no cars around you and you got no hope of beating anyone. It's good.
That's right. Race 2 went to champion Alex McKellar yet again. From myself, Braden Martin in 2nd. Donald Sabanel held on to 3rd place from hard-charging Matthew Mites.
I can't believe he did that after he murdered Chastity lap 1. Just absolutely murdered him. Jesus. Anyway, stewards, let's go.
Brady Baldwin, a nice top 5 from Nathan Verney, Dennis Hancock, Jeremy Bush, Tim Corn, and Peter Wilkinson inside the top 10.
Look at that.
So 6 locked-on cars inside the top 10 this time, which was really good to see. Big movers, Craig Kermond, a really good drive, 27th up to 12th. Anthony Connors, 28th up to 14th. Philip Paradiso, 26th up to 17th. After, I can't remember if it was race 2 that he had his little bingle with Sean.
Yeah, him and Sean Doyle had a bit of a coming together. I'm not going to comment on it. The race stewards, I think, said it was a racing incident. I can't remember, actually.
I can't remember. I think he got a penalty, yeah.
It's So that might not have been such a big climb, actually.
Might not have been, yeah. They were the main ones. Farron Hancock's 24th up to 19th, and Sean Carey 31st up to 20th. Jamie Willips 29th up to 21st. So some good movers throughout the field.
Can I just throw out Nathan Verney, 12th up to 6th with the fastest lap of the race.
Absolutely.
Well done.
And it looks like Ira Felberg and Ashley Knowles and the only people to get a
I'm trying to work out how Ashley Knowles got a 0x and he finished 4 laps down. Is that a disc? I didn't hear him disconnect. Is that what happened there?
That is a good question.
But anyway, you got the bonus 2 points. Go for it. Take it.
That is a good question. I guess if you destroy your car on one of those sausage caves, you might not actually get a 0x, maybe. That might be what it is. Anyway, so well done to everyone in the Ozicar Formula Skip Barbers. I can't wait to race.
Brady Baldwin, Anthony Connors, Farron Hancock's, well done, actually, and Russell Clark, well done on not even posting a fastest lap.
Yeah, so there was some interesting lines. Absolutely. Yeah. The championship obviously went to Alex McKellar, dominant throughout the whole season, 77 points clear of Ben Snell, who was 5 points clear of myself. Russell Clark, Donald Sabanel riding out the top 5, James Chastanoff, Dennis Hancock, Sean McKenzie, Nathan Verney, and Matthew Mites squeezing into the top 10.
Yes, definitely well done. So then we go to
Road to 2K.
Road to 2K, Dennis Hancock taking out the win significantly, 441 points. Brady Baldwin second. Now, if my computer didn't disconnect, he crashes out. I'm only 12 points behind him.
What could have been?
So yeah, 337 for him, 363 for me. Farron Hancock's back in fourth, 340. Ashley Knowles in 346 in fifth. I don't know how that works. I think 346 is higher than 340, but we'll go with it. Craig Kerman in sixth, so technically 1 point behind fourth place, but then 7 points behind fifth place. So very well done. 347, Tim Court's actually higher than all those people in seventh. So there might be a little bit of a discrepancy there. Ira, go fix up your table. I think Tim Court got fourth. Ashley Knowles fifth. Farron sixth. Craig seventh. That's a really good finish though for the Road to 2K there for the minor placings. Well done, all those involved.
Definitely.
Team points, we don't really need to talk about it. Alex McKellar smashed them. Alex John smashed them as well. Without a week there, realistically, they're 100 odd points ahead if Alex John turns up.
Yep.
Van Diemen Racing, well done on second for 968. Donald Sabanel and Russell Clark. And then back on to you guys, locked on iRacing news and results. Braden Martin, Nathan Verney in 927 points, and then locked on iRacing interviews 883. Bit of a gap back to White Knuckle Racing, and then Van Diemen a Noodle Squad in sixth. The Man Cave in seventh, which isn't a bad result since Tim didn't turn up 1 week. So well done. Well done to me. Locked on Black Sheep Racing in 8th. I missed Apex in 9th. Simon Dobner, that's who I was trying to, and Craig Kerman, that's who I was racing with. It must have been. Or it might have been Rookie Racing. Yeah, I think it was actually Rookie Racing I was mentioning before. I misspoke with Missed Apex. So Greg Holmes and Anthony Connors. White Knuckle Racing 2, Sean Carey and Scott Harvey. First 11 Racing in 12th. I think a lot of these people sort of fell away towards the end. 111 in 13th, and the rest are single drivers. Let's move on to ANZCAR, and Carl Withy is going to give us a wrap-up of that. You're a legend, Carl. Thank you for doing this each and every week. You're a legend. This is the best voice in broadcasting. I've said it. Ryan Jones. I've said it. Jake Sperry. I've said it. Reece Gardner's really good as well. But anyway, go listen to Carl about ANZCAR. Take it away, Carl.
Thanks lads, and hello chaps and chapettes, and welcome to the ANZCAR wrap-up. I am as ever Carl Withy. Tonight we are looking at the Trucks and Xfinity Series action from ANZCAR, as it was an off week for the Cup. So let's start with round 11, season 2 of the Truck Series from Rockingham Speedway. 28 trucks would take part at the ever tricky Rock, with Jason Martin taking a pole position a smidgen over Jaden Russell. The race would see an early couple of cautions, but after this we would see some good long green stints. Tyre wear and car preservation were as ever important, especially at the Rock. and it would see veterans work their way to the front of the field, with the Championship 3 fighting for the win. The star of the race had to be Josh Mickelmore, who had a horrible qualifying but would show his race pace, going from 20th to 2nd. Just beating out Foster for 3rd, Nathan Clark would end up having a good run of form in 4th position, Luke Dreher in 5th, Jason Martin taking out the win at the end. The championship standing is still close, with Edward Foster at the front leading on 435 points, 2nd for Martin, 17 down, 3rd for Mickelmore, 25 off the lead. With a bit more of the gap to 4th position, it's still all to play for in those spots, however. 4th is Nathan Clark, 5th Matty Raymond, Norman Clark 6th, Finley 7th, 8th for Wellman, Schultz in 9th, and Donnelly in 10th. We head to the final round at Phoenix next. Who will take the crown in the Truck Championship? Next up, we head to the Thunder Series, which was going to Auto Club Speedway. The Fast Fontana track treated us to some fantastic racing and possibly the race of the year for the series. A bold statement for sure, but we saw some incredibly close action. Mickelmore would take pole position, just beating out Skurlock. As the pace car pulled into the pits and the green flag had dropped, yellow appeared, with Dawsonak getting a little bit loose on the first set of corners. Ruben Phelps checked up. Unfortunately, Troy Davidson could not stop in time and collected him in the rear. Strong qualifying performance from Davidson, but unfortunately he had an end-of-the-line penalty, which ended up costing him in the race. Once the grid reformed and charged away again, Skurlock taking the lead with a good gap over the field, he managed to get around about a 5 to 6 second lead. However, on lap 27, Davidson's engine would blow, a blow to his night after a good performance in qualifying. Everybody would come into the pit lane, and on lap 31 we would go back to green flag racing and not see another flag until the checkered came out. Despite Skurlock running away at the start of the stint with a large lead, behind him was an absolute furball of action. The battle would see around 18 cars fighting it out for position, but it was the wise Matty Raymond and Brenton West who would end up saving the most fuel at the back of the pack and time their charge to perfection, working their way through the field to the top of the field. As others ran out of fuel in view of the finish line, it would be Raymond keeping his car super clean and taking the win over Brenton West, who took his first P2 in the ANZCAR series. Mickelmore came home in 3rd position, 4th for Williams, and a strong P5 for Maddie Hunter. The championship has had one drop round included, with one to go, but as it stands coming into the final round, Gallagher leads with 412 points, 2nd for Mickelmore, 21 down, 3rd for Phelps, 47 off the lead, 4th for Hobson, 5th for Raymond, 6th for West, 7th for Donnelly, 8th for Norman Clark, 9th for Skurlock, 10th for Hunter. This week we head to Watkins Glen for the final round of Xfinity Thunder Series, and of course the Cup will be returning once more. For all that action, come and join us on FGM eCast on YouTube or Facebook, your place for ePace. And as ever, a huge thanks to Locked On Lads Guys and Locked On iRacing, your home to the best Aussie sim racing action. Back to you guys.
Thanks for that, Carl. You're a legend, and we will talk to you very soon about other stuff, hopefully, as well. Going from there, we've got our very own Tim Harris racing in the Auspass Pro-Am. Now, we're going to be a week delayed on this because he races on a Tuesday night, which is usually when we're recording, so we can't really cover it till they do all the post-race stuff anyway. So we're going to get Tim to record some stuff about the previous race. So this is about the race from last Tuesday night. So here we go, Tim Harris. Take it away.
G'day guys, I'm Tim Harris. I'll be bringing you coverage of results, standings and some talking points from Season 4 of the Auspass Pro-Am Sim Series for the Locked On iRacing podcast. For those who are yet to follow, the Auspass Series is one of a handful of Australian GT3 series. The Auspass Series is a fixed setup series, utilising 4 GT3 cars for the season in a pick and stick fashion, which means basically the car you start the season with, you have to carry through for the season. The Ferrari 488, the Lamborghini, both mid-engine cars, the BMW M4 being a front-engine car, slightly different, as well as the new kid on the block, the Porsche 911 GT3R. The series also carries a success ballast, which is analysed on a round-by-round basis, with the Pro-Am results both leading towards weight penalties, which are carried over week to week and adjusted in an effort to keep the parity nice and balanced across the season. Pre-qualification set the field for the two classes, both Pro and Am, with the drivers ranked 3K iRating or above automatically heading into the Pro division, as well as any serious real-world race car drivers. The Am division was left up to anyone who turned up could set a qualifying time that made the cut. So with that, all in all, there are about 70 odd drivers set to take the grid for round one. Now into its fourth season, the Auspass series is picking up quite a lot of momentum. You've got a lot of really competitive drivers. It's a pretty stacked field. So you've got almost pro iRaces, as well as real-world races, karters, XL races, speed car drivers, Toyota 86 drivers, some Porsche Cup and GT3 races, some single-seater Grand Prix winners, as well as radio control car racing national champions. So it's a very diverse but competitive field. And everyone's putting their names on the line for honour, and also some cash prizes at the end of the season for the top three. So, yeah, all of these things are great, but can't be done without some sponsors. So, Computer Technology Corporation, Simrigs.com, HJ Plant Repair, Phoenix Smokers, and 93PC, all part of the team that help get the series on the ground and running. The 12-round season consists of 3 wildcard rounds. Now, these wildcard rounds are running cars that aren't GT3 in a dual 20-minute sprint format. Things like the Cadillac CTS-V and Corvette prototype. The next wildcard round is the crazy Audi 90 GTO 700 horsepower monster. And the final one will be the Radical SR8. So that really spices up and mixes up the season as it goes through. The main course, however, is the 6 GT3 sprint rounds and the 3 GT3 70-minute enduro rounds. With all the rounds, including the wildcard rounds, counted towards the championship, and tracks ranging from the Chicago Street Circuit to Zandvoort. Season 4, it's a big season, exclusively streamed through FGM eCast, 7:30 PM Australian Eastern Standard Time, Tuesday nights. It's quickly becoming one of the must-watches of the week. There's a lot of action. So tonight I'm going to bring you some talking points and results from the first Enduro, which was round 4 at Road Atlanta. So obviously some bumps and different car types between the front engine, the mid-engine cars. So we had the Lamborghini and the Porsche, both very quick over one lap, but a bit risky over the bumps. So it was really, before the rounds, anyone's guess as to what was going to be the pick of the car, but after all was said and done, TQ went to Jack Widders in the Porsche 911, and the second qualification was Jack Boyd in the BMW. So you've got 2 completely different cars, both running at the front of the field, and very close in the time. Obviously, the third place qualifier there was Shane Wallace. So into the race, 70 minutes, obviously quite a large variance of speed between the front end of the field with the pro competitors and the amateurs. So there was lots of things coming into play, lap traffic, of course cars getting unsettled over the bumps and falling off at various corners. But after all was said and done, Shane Wallace, outstanding drive, fastest lap of 1:18.5, and pretty much on par. I think there's equalled by Jack Widders, but he managed to do that more consistently and get the full points from the round, and 5.9 second victory over 70 minutes. So with that, second place was Jack Boyd, third Jack Widders, fourth Luke Turner, and fifth Ross Rizzo. So quite a diverse range of cars there. You had the Lamborghini in first, the BMW for Jack Boyd in second, Jack Wittes with the Porsche 911 in third. So you had pretty much everything there in the top 5, except for the Ferrari. The best place Ferrari was 14th with Paul Mansell after the end of the 70 minutes, and that's in the Pro class. Next up in the amateur class for the 70-minute Enduro, first place Dale Carpenter, second place Matt Andrews, third place Daniel Webster, fourth place Timothy Hancock, and fifth place was Derek Orty. Which then brings us to our championship standings after the 4 rounds. So with the Pro class, the standings remained the same order for the top 4. So first place Shane Wallace, second place Jack Boyd, third Ross Rizzo, fourth place Luke Turner, and fifth Adam Funslow, sixth place Jack Wittes, seventh place Scott Cray, eighth Josh Fitt, 9th Brendan Levin, and 10th Paul Mansell. So there's a bit of movement there within the second half of the top 10 with championship positions, with the likes of Jack Wittes actually moving up 8 spots into position 6 for the championship. So he's done really well out of that round. One of the big losers there being Jeff Connell. So Jeff Connell had a less than ideal race, so he's dropped 8 positions, and being last season's champion, it's quite a blow really, and he's dropped down to 13th in the championship there. As far as the top 5 go, Shane Wallace has a 300 or so point buffer over Jack Boyd. Then from there it starts to tighten up a little bit. So Shane's really walking away with the Pro Series at the moment. Obviously still 8 rounds to go, so there's a lot to go there. The AM Championship, so that's quite an interesting little one with quite a bit of movement week to week. This week Matt Andrews actually jumped up from second into first position after that with thereabouts 21-point lead, so it's a lot tighter than the Pro Championship. Second place in the championship Daniel Webster, third Graham Smith, fourth Derek Orty, and fifth Lachlan Capel. So over the top 5 there we've got thereabouts 160 point split, so very tight at the top of the AM table, and obviously the boys are going to be going at it hammer and tong. As far as our teams championship goes, Injectors Online Racing, pro driver combination of Maverick Benson and Shane Wallace, no surprises there, they're on top. Second, the Pro-Am pairing of Jack Boyd and Glenn Boyd, and in third position in the teams championship is Matt Andrews and Daniel Cheney, both AM drivers. So going first Pro, second Pro-Am, and third Am. That sort of paints the picture of what's happening in the teams championship. But in saying that, your third place for TechSense Fitzy Motorsport of Matt Andrews and Daniel Cheney doing a very solid job there in a big field. So as far as the next rounds go, we've got the Audi 90 GTO, which is next round at the Charlotte Roval. If you haven't driven those cars or seen them before in action, they're a wild piece of kit. 700 horsepower, 1980s suspension and tyre technology without ABS brakes, without traction control. They do have 4-wheel drive, but they also have 4-wheel slide, so they'll be one to watch. So FGM eCast, you can check that out on Facebook or the YouTube channel, and get behind the series, see what it's about, because it's action-packed. So thanks very much, and we'll catch you next week.
Thank you for that, Tim. You're an absolute legend. Hopefully we hear more from you in the very near future. Now, I didn't even mention I drove trucks the other week in my wrap-up of what we did. So let's go to Scraps and find out what happened in the Scraps series. The trucks went to... Oh, wow. Where did they even go to in the end? New Hampshire. Ooh, what a track. No, they went to Richmond. Richmond, that's not the results for Richmond. Anyway, I can't find the results for Richmond. It happened. It was a race, and I didn't go very well in it, is the main gist. Why aren't the results in the system? I can't find any of it anywhere. Anyway, let's have a look at what the table looks like over at that. I can at least give you that. It was a pretty good race. Overall, from my rear view, I didn't really get to see much of it. I ended up getting lapped and then also came flying through the field. Did you get to watch any of this stream, Braden, where I pitted?
I did, yeah. I did watch the stream. It was good fun, actually. It's fun of my... I actually have been really enjoying it. Listening to you guys have a chin wag while you're driving. Unfortunately, it didn't end really great for either you or Tim at Richmond.
No, I really stuffed up this week. I really did. I wasn't feeling confident. Richmond was not going well for me. I pitted probably when I shouldn't have, I guess. But my tyres were stuffed. And yeah, we had 5 of us in the chat this week, which was really good fun. Justin Howe knows his stuff. Sam Stride was in there as well. I'm just trying to go points for the scrap series. No, so I can't quite get it up, but I did say that right. So standings at the moment: Braden Borlos is in first. Matt Danson is in second. Jason Martin in third. Jaden Russell in fourth. Daniel Yeaman in fifth. Simon Mazzomo in sixth. Daniel Stevens in seventh. Ryan Jones in eighth. Darren McKenzie in ninth. And Justin Howe rounding out the top 10. I'm sitting 12th, just out of interest. Tim Cornt's back in 15th at the moment. So, so from the other night, it was mainly to do with just my tyre wear was ridiculously bad. When I did put the tyres on right at the end, I was about 5 laps down because I did have a crash, which took me out. Oh, no, that's right. I sped in pit lane and a few other things. I'd actually managed my damage really well, and I just stuffed up pit entry and caused some damage and things like that, and just put me back of the field. And then I was flying through the field, even though I was a couple laps down, was absolutely carving everyone up with new tyres, and yeah, put her into the wall, but kept it straight, didn't bring out the yellow to most people's disgust. I can't work out race. No, it's really hard to work out this anyway. But that's the results. I'm sure it was a really good race up front, but I didn't win, so that's all that matters. Let's go into Sunday Night Lights. Thank you, Alex McKellar, for yet another great round wrap up. Take it away, Alex.
Thanks, Wilco. G'day, everyone. Alex McKellar here, the host of Top Split TV's ongoing coverage of Sunday Night Lights. Round 6 of Season 24 saw the drivers head to the tight and challenging Tsukuba circuit. Once again, the main race drew a strong mix of old and new faces, with the Japanese track drawing out the likes of Team Torpedo's Tim Hendrickson and Anthony Jones. The former, who we haven't seen for several seasons, is always up for a stint at the pointy end of proceedings. Qualifying saw a new pole sitter for the season in Movano's Ludwig Guidi, who took pole from Anthony Jones by just 2 100ths. Jones showing that he was not going to be outshone by his orange and blue liveried teammate Hendrickson, relegating the Flying Dutchman to the second row where he started from third. Iberian Racing School's Christian Perez joined the Team Torpedo driver on the second row, starting from fourth when the green flag was dropped. The third row was filled with Guidi's Movano Sim Racing teammate and series contender Manu Big Breaks Luqueta, and leading driver making a title run of his own, Corey Lean, in 5th and 6th respectively. The other local representatives in the field were the Cowboys, Sam Devantia, along with Craig Biley making his series return, and Mitchell Nichols, who had been promoted to the top split after winning the second split race at Road Atlanta the week before. While they were buried in the second half of the grid to begin with, along with Lean, they carried the hopes of the ANZ club against a strong international lineup. When racing got underway, it was a long line of 19 cars that attacked into turn 1, only to find themselves struck by the most unusual network event that cost several drivers their place in the same universe briefly as the rest of the field, only to find themselves being teleported back into, and sometimes on top of, the other cars in the field, causing a high degree of mayhem in the mid to lower end of the field on the run into turn 4 for the first time, with several drivers coming a cropper and some going straight on into the tyre barriers. While most of the drivers were able to carry on, the race lost one of its greatest talents in Christian Perez, who was an unfortunate bystander to the issue and was unavoidably taken out of the race, retiring on lap 1. The next major event that shaped the course of the race occurred on lap 4, where Team Torpedo's Anthony Jones was rear-ended into the turn 4 braking zone while tucked in directly behind the leader by ANZ's Corey Lean, who misjudged his braking while running in third. After having been turned 2 weeks in a row, this week it was Lean who made the mistake that cost one of the front runners their shot at the win. In fact, championship front runner Manu Lucchetta was also taken out in the ensuing mess and was relegated to running at the back of the field a lap down for the remainder of the race. This also broke up the front pack and saw Movano Sim Racing's Ludwig Guidi and Team Torpedo's other driver Tim Hendrickson skip away from where they would not be challenged for the win other than by each other. This also saw Lean fall back into a battle for the final podium position with last week's race winner Danny Blanco, perennial contender Julian O'Fray, and the leading Italian driver in the field Giuseppe Tellini. The latter managing to hold on for a 6th place finish, with O'Fray snaring vital championship points in a 5th place finish 3/10 ahead of him. Recovering from the early incident, Corey Lean held on in the secondary pack and fought his way to a 4th place finish. Danny Blanco just 2/10 ahead of Lean, backing up his win last week with a solid podium and finishing 3rd. This left Hendrickson and Guidi to fight it out in the closing stages, with Guidi spoiling the return to SNL of the prodigal Team Torpedo driver who finished 2nd, just a 10th off the win. Whilst Lean was the leading ANZ driver, the biggest movers in the field were Mitchell Nichols and Craig Byerley, who both fought their way forward from the last row on the grid to finish in the SNL points in 11th and 12th respectively. Unfortunately, the Cowboy, Sam Devantier, also suffered a tough night, finishing out of the points in 15th position. Briefly going around the grounds, we saw the locked-on iRacing pairing of Braden Martin and Nathan Verney front up for SNL this week, with Martin taking a maiden flag-to-flag victory in a dominant 10-second win, while his teammate just scraped into the SNL points with an 11th place finish. Mark Jeffrey's strong season continues with an 8th place finish in the second split, once again securing good championship points. While he could only manage 15th, it was great to see Ken Hyams once again joining us for SNL. Hopefully we see more of Ken in the weeks to come and he can see better results at the same time. As we take a look at the championship standings at the halfway point in the season, we see Team Ivano's Ludwig Guidi wrest the lead of the series from his teammate after a no-show, and not scoring points this week sees Manu Big Breaks Lucchetta fall to 4th in the standings. Second place overall sits with Julian O'Fray, who is proving that consistency can be as important as race wins. Corey Lean is not only the leading ANZ driver, but is sitting in 3rd overall with a race in hand, once again showing that the racy Lean is a contender this season. After Lucchetta in 4th, we see another 2 ANZ drivers in Mitchell Nichols and the ever-present Mark Jeffrey in 5th and 6th respectively, both having an excellent first half of the season. On the back of some good results, this week sees both locked-on iRacing team members Braden Martin and Nathan Verney break onto the leaderboard, with Martin sitting in 16th and Verney just sneaking into the top 20. Next week sees the SNL Freight Train make its way to another first-time track in the Red Bull Ring, many drivers looking forward to testing their mettle on the layout that we've all been watching so intently over the past 2 seasons of Formula One. So join us on the track or over on the Top Split TV Twitch channel next Sunday night at 9:15 p.m. Australian Standard Time, where we will be bringing you once again some of the best racing you'll find anywhere. As always, it will be the place to be on a Sunday night. Thank you as always to our friends over the Locked On iRacing podcast for giving us another platform to share the amazing racing with an extended audience. They have, of course, now cemented themselves as the place to come for all your ANZ iRacing news, views and events. But for now, folks, and until next week, this is Alex McKellar signing off. Ciao for now.
Thanks again, Alex. You're an absolute legend for helping us out with the Sunday Night Light stuff, and hopefully this is helping the community grow and grow and grow. You've got this Braden guy that's racing in there now. He's apparently really famous. you looking forward to Red Bull Ring for Sunday Night Lights this week?
I'll tell you after Thursday. Depends on how Thursday goes. Depends on how confident I'll be feeling.
Okay, we will see how we go then. Look, I'm really looking forward to everyone who's helping out in this. So thank you to ANZCAR. Thank you to Carl Withy from ANZCAR. Thank you to Alex McKellar with Sunday Night Lights. Thank you, Tim Harris, for helping us out with Auspass Pro-Am. Thank you for Jay Kennedy with SCOPS. And thank you to anyone else who does help us out, because it just means more content for you guys, better content for you guys, and a little bit less work for us, because this is already taking a long time. If you are interested in helping us out, lockedonlads.com/Discord. Hit us up in there, or Locked On Lads on Facebook. Message us there, and we can definitely help get your series covered somehow. Thank you to the sponsors once again, CD Symptography and Brewster Coffee. Go check them out. Links in the show notes. But, Braden, where can people find you, mate?
Yep, you can find me over on twitch.tv/the1dwade. Really pushing towards getting affiliate pretty soon in the next couple of streams, all things going well. So if you can drop by when I'm streaming and come hang out, it'd be really good. I've been playing some Master Chief Collection Halo with some mates, which has been good fun. So feel free to pop in for one of those streams. Or I've also obviously been streaming a fair bit of Skippy Racing as well. So hopefully next stream I'll get road to 3K, which will be good to tick that off. And if you want to hear me talk about anything else, probably the Olympics at the moment, you can come over and give me a follow on Twitter at Braden Talks.
Braden Talks, that's right. Look, just to rub salt in the wound, you can go follow us on Twitch if you want. We're on the road to 500 followers. We did affiliate ages ago, so come help us out there. Really good showing last couple of streams, especially the Ozicar ones. Keep turning out for that. I love the little debrief we do at the end before we jump on for the Man Cave, which is another podcast that we do. Go check out the Locked On Lads, the Man Cave. It's really good stuff. And we are trying to get an Olympic special going at the moment, so we'll see how that goes. You can find us on YouTube, Locked On Lads YT. We're on the road to 400 subscribers over there. You can find all the old podcasts over there, and I'm trying to put all the old races up there as well. But if you can go give us a subscribe, try and get to 400, and then try and get to 500 so we can get some stuff happening once we get to 1,000. But all the support over there has been great. But check out in particular the Locked On iRacing Interviews podcast. We just put up Alex Bergeron on Sunday. We've got Jonathan Hancock coming up this Sunday. We have got then Bo Albert coming up in the very near future. Madison Down coming up in the very near future. And some guy called Jake Sperry coming up in the very near future. I don't even know when we're recording that. But yeah, there's heaps of good interviews over there. So go check them out. And also Locked On Lads on Facebook, which hasn't had a lot of content lately, but all the cool photos and pics and results are going up over there. Go thank Nathan Verney and John McHenry and Tim Cornt for all their help getting content up over there. And that is the main place, but definitely the Discord, lockedonlads.com/Discord. Go join us there and have a chat with us. Chat about the Olympics, chat about whatever, chat about other games that people are playing, Tarkov and things like that. And yeah. Hopefully, we'll catch you all soon. Wilco's Chill Zone on Twitter, Locked On Lads on Twitter. And till next Sunday, I guess, when the next interview goes up, have a good week, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Drive safe, drive fast.